Hello and welcome to the DPMBA podcast. My name's Sean and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Boff. Mr. Boff, my man, how are we?
I'm pretty good. You've just been educating me on Binley Mega Chicken, the latest viral internet sensation.
Yeah.
It was giving me chicken shop date vibes. Like,
I've heard of that,
have you
but
seen that?
I don't know what it is.
It's this woman named Amelia de Moldenberg or something. Anyway, I first became aware of her because she interviewed Timo Werner from Chelsea Football Club, affectionately known to me and my brother as Timmy V. And she just interviewed him and he was like, she's asking like, what's your favourite food to cook? And he's like, oh, I don't really know how to cook, but I do just cook like spaghetti with tomato sauce. She's like, do you mean like a pasta sauce? And he's like, no, it's ketchup. Anyway, Timo Werner's a freak.
What, millions and millions of pounds?
Well, he's just like, yeah, during lockdown I just ordered out every day.
Yeah.
And it's like, Tim, you got to take care of the rig.
Isn't Kevin De Bruyne like a home chef and all that shit? And he's got his own like videos?
He is a home chef.
Yeah,
does he have a home chef?
No, doesn't he like make his own stuff?
I don't know.
Because maybe he's like having a dig at Timmy V then.
Maybe.
I swear I've seen for no good reason Kevin De Bruyne just cooking for his kids and it's like some really nice meal.
Well, what do you mean no good reason other than feeding
why
your kids
am I seeing it? No, but why am I
meal?
seeing it on Instagram?
Yeah.
I need to be seeing
You've been
Warriorsisms and
You've been
Emma
sucked
Stone.
into my algorithm. You've been sucked
Yeah.
into the British Instagram algorithm.
Our phones have been too close. And
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna bleed your way as well. You're gonna get a few Emma Stones up.
I don't need any more Emma Stones. Most cooked shit happened recently. Just like another, it's not like an isolated experience. Everyone will have had the same experience, but it irked me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Moving into a new place soon, and in the division of bill paying, like who's gonna have what bills registered to them, I'm taking the water. So my mate,
I'm a water boy as well.
yeah, carrying that water. My mate texts me saying, can you come over so we can sort out the Yarra Valley water?
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, 10 minutes later, Yarra Valley water ad, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's quick. B, didn't message on Facebook. Obviously, that's gone through the phone. Like, yeah, bad. Anyway,
I had a similar experience last week where my mate was showing me, like, he's a big skater and he's showing me like this every year Globe brings out this just like Pantone skateboard with like a different hex code, and he goes, oh, look at this, like this year's color was like grey. Like, it's pretty stupid, but it is, simplistic. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I don't skate, but I'm like, whatever, like it's a cool idea. I go back down to my computer, this is at work, I sit down at my computer, completely different, scrolling through Facebook, and I get that exact board.
There's a
Man, this is real podcasting.
There's a good Simpsons meme. Simpsons memes, I feel like have been making a bit of a resurgence recently, where like they just obviously just take a situation and change the text. But it was like, life is better now that mega corporations take our private information and sell back to us the very products which they were eavesdropping about. And it's like, yes, that's terrible. That's the worst. Anyway, just to bring it back full circle before we actually talk about basketball, because this is a freaking basketball podcast. Chicken Shop Date is done by this girl, Amelia, and they basically go to like a chicken shop, which is essentially just like the chicken version of Binley Mega Chippy. Rather than a fish and chip shop, it's just like fried chicken. And they just she puts them on YouTube, which I don't watch them on YouTube. You know that I watch them on Facebook or Instagram because it's in the algorithm. But you would have no doubt heard, and listeners too, the Louis Theroux rap.
That's the first one.
Yeah, so he did that on like one of his more obscure documentaries.
Yeah.
And then she says to him, "Do you remember?"
Please don't tell me again. I hear that like 20 times.
I'm not gonna do it. But she says to him, "Do you remember any of the rap?" And he just does the rap. And then from that has spawned like the TikTok and social media phenomenon. So she's popping off meals from Chicken Shop Day. To think that she started out interviewing Timmy V about ketchup on tomato on pasta sauce, and she's a bit of a wacko. She's kind of perfected like the Zach Galifianakis between two ferns, and even like soft Eric Andre style, where some of her guests are like not 100% sure what's going on. They're like, wait, are you being serious? Or are you like taking the piss out of me or like yourself? And the guests are like sometimes pretty obviously a bit like uncertain, which is refreshing in the era of hyper manicured, managed interviews. To see a famous person visibly a bit uncertain about what's going on, it is refreshing.
Speaking of refreshing, it's actually really nice just to like hear you know, YouTube agnostic Dante just describe things that we all see on YouTube at large.
Wait,
so
is that?
Yeah, there's a few shows like that.
Okay.
It's like, you know, people have been pushing back on just the interview style for a while.
Okay.
But it is nice. It is nice as, you know, Channel 9 consumer goes on YouTube once.
No, I give myself 14 to 20 minutes of YouTube every week when I watch All Caps NBA.
Yeah.
With Jason Concepcion.
And even then, you always just look over at the bloody Minecraft Let's Plays.
But to be honest as well, though, like if we are being legit, when I'm studying, which I, for the last 6 months, really for the last 2 years, really for 5 of the last 6 years, have been doing quite a lot of. When I'm studying, generally I'm listening to either like techno bangers, like something really like really
no words as well.
Yeah, well, some of them have not like lyrics, like maybe there's a word thrown in here or there. Sometimes I'll be listening to like some soft indie rock. I've been absolutely banging the new Alt J album and a 2010 album called The Fool by Warpaint, which Undertow off that album is 100% going to be my number one song for the year when Spotify Wrapped comes out in December. But I digress. I have been, when I'm editing what I've written, I find actually listening and enjoying the music to be distracting. So I put on something that's like as plain as I can possibly get. And there's this beautiful series of albums from this Japanese man called Takashi Kakubo, I think his name is. And it's essentially just like classical music, but like it's almost like weather, like environmental theme. So like he'll do a whole album, 50 minutes, where it's basically just gives you the vibe of like sitting by a running stream. He'll do another one where it's like spring is like blooming, like the greenery is like it's the snow is thawing and the greenery is coming back, or like an autumn leaf like slowly drifting down. Anyway, listening to that a lot. And where am I listening to that? On YouTube.
Oh, good idea.
So if you looked at the stats, I probably would be averaging more than 14 to 20 minutes of YouTube a week. But in terms of conscious consumption, 14 to 20 minutes. Anyway, should we talk about
thank goodness we got that cleared. I was actually wondering how we're going to get through this pod without knowing your fucking screen time. But yeah, so Game 7 finished between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat.
And what a game.
Fuck! What a bad game.
Yeah, it was an affront to Boston.
I know that's a vanilla take, but fuck, you know, after we finished the 4-man weave plus Marco last week, all you guys left, and I was talking to my housemate, and he goes, "You guys just kept slagging off the conference finals because he's not a basketball fan." And he goes, "Was it really? Are they really that bad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're pretty shit. Like this is supposed to be Steve Nash versus Tim Duncan, or like Kobe Bryant versus Steve Nash. I don't know why there's two Steve Nash examples. Like Golden State versus Kevin Durant. Like this should be like, there's like James Harden trying to get over the hump against Golden State again. This should be like the arguably better than the finals sometimes. And we are not getting that at all. And it's not like we're not getting Game 7s in clutch minutes. Like we're getting clutch minutes in this Game 7. No one's just able to score. So should we start with the end of the game and that whole semi-collapse by the Boston Celtics? And Bill Simmons on his post-mortem pod said that if the Celtics had ended up losing this game after being up 10 points with like a minute 20 left, he goes, this might have been the biggest collapse in Boston Celtics franchise history, which is like, hold on, we're actually very close to actually watching that.
Well, it might have been the biggest collapse in recent NBA history. They were up 13 points with 3 minutes left, and they were still up 7 with a minute 10 left, and it got down to 2 points.
But before that, they were up 3-2. Yeah. And then for them to lose 2 games, and then it was 100 to 96 or whatever the final score was. But what are your thoughts on the Jimmy Butler shot to go for the kill and go to win the game while at home?
I think it was undoubtedly a bad shot because Jimmy doesn't really shoot that shot ever. So
I think he took 43 in the regular season.
Yeah, but
Pull up
when he
threes.
does shoot threes, he's not creating for himself. He's spotting up and catch and shoot, and he certainly isn't shooting off the dribble threes in transition ever. Like, I reckon, you know, if we were more accredited members of the NBA commentariat, maybe we would have access to second spectrum. Pull up second spectrum. Guarantee that he didn't shoot a non.
The 43 pull up 3-pointers on the season.
No, I mean, but pull the numbers up. He didn't shoot a transition one.
Yeah.
It's like off the dribble in the half court, like step back, step to the side, pull up, whatever. But he's not like, that's a shot that like Klay Thompson shoots.
Well, most other shooting guards shoot, and that's sort of a Jimmy thing.
The thing that the reason why I think it's a bad shot, A, is that like it's not his shot, but also it's only Horford and him between the rim, and Horford's a great defender, but Horford was backpedaling, and he's 35 years old, and you're down by 2. So I think worst case scenario, you attack. There were shooters in both corners, so there's not going to be help coming from the corner. It's 1-on-1 with Horford, who's backpedaling. Worst case scenario, probably you get fouled. You go to the line, he's an 85% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
Make both and tie it. Bad shot, but at the same time, like, your best player just has to have license to take a bad shot.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the game. Like, Jimmy Butler is the reason why they were in the series. If Jimmy Butler's going to take the last shot, you just have to kind of like live with whatever it is.
Yeah. I think it was a good shot because of what you said. Like, if your best player gets a wide open look, like, you know, you say Al Horford was backpedaling and maybe he should have capitalized on that. But, like, he was backpedaling away from the 3-point line. Like, all in all, it was an open shot. And look, if he gets the 2-pointer, like if he just dribbled it out, maybe he didn't like what he saw at the rim, dribbles it back out, like that run and that all the momentum was gained throughout the whole game was just like, they weren't good shots. Like, it was 2 Max Strus fading threes that weren't quality shots. It was one pick the pocket of someone, but Oladipo picked the pocket and obviously got a wide open dunk, but like they weren't. This offense without Tyler Hero wasn't generating good looks at the basket, and like
they weren't able to generate really good looks with Tyler Hero anyway.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it was just another creator that they were down. But Boston is that good defensively though. Like Tyler Hero, their offense was shit all series.
But like, you know, if the offense isn't creating good shots, and that was a good shot, sort of 1 in the hand, 2 in the bush, that was a good shot right there, and it's like, maybe if we dribble this out for 20 seconds, we don't get a good shot.
If I was coaching Jimmy Butler, and I had the ability to, like, he's wearing a Bluetooth earpiece, and I'm talking to him as he's dribbling down, but don't shoot that 3, like, go to the basket. But it's not the case, and like, you just have to put the ball in your best player's hands and be prepared to live with the outcome. So I don't have a problem with it at all. I'd be like, you know, that's completely chill. But I think maybe like worrying signs for the Celtics in terms of just like being able to get it done down the stretch. They struggled to put the Heat away in a few of those games during that series, struggling to actually, like, you know, step on the jugular when it's like a close game in the second half. And then this was like not an overstatement to say one of the most stark late game collapses that we've seen. Like, to be up 13 with 3 minutes left and to be in complete control. The other team is having like one of their worst offensive games and to like sputter it away. And like you said, there are a couple of like off-balance threes, but there were like turnovers and miss shot after miss shot. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart coughed the ball up like 4 times in the last 3 minutes and didn't hit any shots.
Well, Marcus Smart took 22 of them.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown, I think it was he who Oladipo stripped. And then he had the elbow to the face of Bam, which I think is the worst. The worst rule in basketball is that rule where someone is going to the rim and they elbow the defender in the face. If Jaylen Brown jumps and Bam Adebayo's head is at elbow height when Jaylen Brown jumps, like, he can't like not have his elbows where his elbows are. Like, he wasn't clearly wasn't trying to hit Bam. Like, if he's going in like the normal path of a layup, the normal motion of a layup, and his elbow just happens to hit someone in the face, guess what? It's basketball.
And it was the normal path of a layup. Like, he did everything right. I don't think that was a foul. I was rooting for a foul because it was interesting to see the game get close. But that it's so hard. And like,
I think it was a foul according to the way that the rule is adjudicated, but I don't think the rule should be adjudicated that way because it puts an unfair onus on the offensive player to consider the defensive player's well-being. Whereas, like, if Bam doesn't want to potentially get hit by an elite athlete hurtling towards the rim, then he doesn't have to jump. He can make the business decision and say, I'm not jumping. But he does. You know, it's like the defender in soccer that's like, fuck, man, like, I really have to throw myself into this challenge to stop this guy from getting a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and I'm going to do it and throw myself into a situation that's potentially injurious to me. And if I get hurt, or the striker's studs, you know, like when we go down, the striker's studs like pressing to my quad or my calf, yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's just the cost of doing business. And it shouldn't be... Like, Jaylen Brown in that instance can't be responsible for Bam's well-being when he's not doing anything to risk Bam's well-being. You know? Worst rule in basketball other than the take foul, IMO.
Final note you've got here. You've written down the death of basketball ? What do you mean by that?
Well, I just mean, like, what a shit game.
What a shit game.
Like, it truly was a really bad game, and like Miami struggled so much because Lowry played really bad. Bam was like good, but not as good as they needed him to be.
Also, look at the ring. Like, he's a good shooter. He's a good mid-range
for sure.
shooter.
Aside from that one game 3, I think it was, like, he really wasn't aggressive. And it's like, bro, you're literally been an all-star.
Yeah.
You're on a max contract. Like, I have more...
Was Bam an all-star?
Last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
I believe you.
I reckon he was an all-star last year. I have more aggression than that, and I'm a famously pass-first guard.
One-time all-star. You famously are.
Famously
also
pass and better, but I'm looking at the rim more than Bam.
Yeah. I mean, this is a Bam thing moving forwards for the Miami Heat. We'll talk at the end of this podcast what's next for the Miami Heat. I just realised I didn't have any point to make off there. Do you want to talk about the NBA Finals?
yeah, I know you want to talk about the NBA Finals.
So the Boston Celtics did win this ugly Game 7, even though we're talking about all the ways that they could have lost. So they'll be facing the Golden State Warriors in a best of 7, and the winner will become the NBA champion. For the Golden State Warriors, it could be quite a heavy number. Boston Celtics, it could be quite a heavier number. I'll start off by saying that Marcus Smart and Al Horford are, I think they're guaranteed to play. Obviously, with Al Horford, you have to chuck in the asterisk of he could get COVID at any moment, same with Jaylen Brown. With Golden State, Andre Iguodala, Gary Payton Jr. and Otto Porter Jr., Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr., they've all been training every couple of days, but you're shaking your head. But they are game time decisions for Game 1.
It's just crazy that this bloke broke his elbow. What feels like 3 weeks ago, and now he's like, yeah, I could probably just play.
Yeah. It's like he doesn't make many of his threes already, and he doesn't get guarded from 3 because of that.
Yeah.
But like he makes 1, maybe 2 a game if it's a really important
Still
game.
Still dribble the basketball at some point.
Well,
surely the dribbling motion can't be very good for your for your elbow, like on your left. Is he a lefty?
I don't know. Luckily, he's not actually crucial in this series. Like, if we had gone against the Dallas Mavericks or the Phoenix Suns, it's like, we need a guard defender, and he would have been an excellent option on a Chris Paul or a Luka Doncic. So, like, you know, it's not essential that he plays in this series, but Andre Iguodala and Otto Porter Jr. are, because as soon as they don't play, it's like, okay, you're missing out on Andre Iguodala. Like, he's a minimum guy for a reason. But
what's Andre? What's his injury?
He had a vertebrae in his neck.
And how long has he been out for?
Since Game 2 of the Denver series.
Okay.
Like, he actually popped out a disc or something in his neck.
Question that's going to sound like a bit of a nuff question, but I mean it. Is Andre Iguodala still good? Is Andre Iguodala worthy of being considered the way that you just said, where it's like he's essential? At 36, with limited mobility, and talk about a bloke that doesn't want to look at the rim. That bloke, you give him a layup and he's not taking it.
I think, Otto Porter Jr. is ahead of him in the lineup, but, Andre Iguodala is the guy that if you've got a crucial inbounds, he's taking it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
He's the guy that you're going to throw on Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum for 5 minutes of the game. But the whole thing is that when he's out there, you're going to get good playmaking, you're going to get good defense, and that's just what it is. That's such a quantifiable commodity. But as soon as he doesn't play, it's like, hold on, Jonathan Kuminga, Damian Lee, like as soon as you go down to that next guy up, it's like
a bit more volatile.
You would much rather just have 5 minutes of Andre Iguodala. Now, obviously, like Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, they're all hopefully going to be playing 40+ minutes in this series, right? It's just what you do when you try and win basketball games. So Iggy's role is small, but yeah, Otto Porter Jr., who left with like a foot injury in Game 5. Very worrying because, like, yeah, the alternative there is Kuminga, who Steve Kerr hasn't trusted to play in these playoffs and really much throughout the regular season, or dare I say Nemanja Bjelica. So I hope they're healthy, but all in all, I don't think it factors in too much. So that's the injury picture heading into the game. But what are some of the matchups? Let's start off. You tell me a matchup that you want to talk about.
Well, I won't start off with the matchup, but I'll just following on the back of what you said. I almost wonder if it's gonna, like, if there's potential in having a weak link defensively. Will that encourage Tatum and Brown to go ISO heavy against the weak link? Because I almost feel like that is extremely beneficial for Golden State, because if you can go ISO heavy and make them take long twos, deep twos, that's better for your offense. And if they're like, playing against like, say, like a Kuminga or like a Lee, and they're, bigger and stronger and
smarter,
going to take them down into the areas closer to the basket rather than settling for those contested mid-ranges. Like, the whole strength of the interior of the defense for Golden State is knowing when to help, how to help, how to help and recover, being able to slide over and get some rim protection from either Looney, Green, or both. It's just like, if you can kind of almost like put the deliberate weak link out there and say, attack this, and if they're going to fall into it, because you fucking know Tatum will fall into it for a little bit, you the bet that you have is like, is Tatum going to score 50 going against like a weaker defender, or is Tatum going to shoot 42% on long twos and we're just going to execute on the other end?
All right, I've got 2.5 things to say there. Okay. The first time is, you're right. Like,
2.5 things to say. That was a Charlie Sheen sitcom.
Yep. Yeah. So that Jason Tatum did do this, and he did it against Max Strus and Duncan Robinson, and he loves it, right?
He froths it. You know who else frothed it?
Jaylen Brown.
Kobe frothed it.
Let's not talk about that. So Jason Tatum did love doing that, and I was actually writing an article about him this morning for Nug Love, just talking about the defense in the playoffs. And I was like, I just assumed that everyone in that Boston-Miami series had a bad series, but I was looking at Jason Tatum's numbers, and he was like shooting well above the league average for a regular season true shooting. Like, he was actually putting the ball in the basket, and it was good, right? And he averaged 25 points and 5.6 assists while doing it, right? So he's was doing a very good job.
Not bad.
So that's him, and like the whole game plan was like, all right, Strus's man, come screen. Oh, didn't get it, Strus's man, come screen. Didn't get it, bloody blah. And like, you say, okay, let's say Bjelica's out there for 5 minutes, like that's just going to be 5 straight minutes of scoring. But thing is, we've already got a weak link, because Jordan Poole just doesn't try on defense and isn't good at defense. So there's already going to be this question where it's like, is Jordan Poole playing 20 minutes this series? Like, everyone's saying, oh, Jordan Poole's averaging 18.5 points in the playoffs, like his first playoffs, like he's so fearless, he's so essential to everything that the Splash Brothers do, because he's just another guy who can shoot just as well as them. But he can't defend, and when he gets in foul trouble, he doesn't even try to defend. He's very much like Wilt Chamberlain. So it's like, you can just talk about like, weak link if Iggy's not playing, but there's already going to be a weak link out there, and I don't think Jordan Poole is going to be playing 30 minutes a night unless he's scoring so much more. And this, like, we're going to ask some more questions before we get into this final series, but that's one of the major questions I see what Steve Kerr's doing, because Steve Kerr, throughout the whole dynasty and even this series, which is very much different to the past few teams, he's always defaulted to defense. He's always said, I would rather start Wiggins if I have to get rid of someone.
Because when the chips are down, that Steph and Clay will be able to compensate.
Yeah. So he's always defaulted to defense, and if it is the case where Jordan Poole isn't scoring enough, going against the best defense in the whole entire world while also getting picked apart by these taller wings. It's like, yeah, this might not be the series for him. And if so, are we going to score enough? Because we've been the best playoff offense this whole entire playoffs, which is amazing. And you wouldn't expect that given the regular season, which, okay, we haven't been fully healthy during the regular season, but is part of that because Poole has been so excellent against, Denver's poor defense, and then Dallas just doesn't have great individual defenders. Like, I wonder where the rubber meets the road on that one.
Yeah, I just think you'll be able to get enough from like your main four guys, and I'm not even including Poole in that because I think that he will be a bit volatile, and he might have a game where he's scoring that well and he goes for 35, but there also might be games where he doesn't even get to 20 minutes and he gives you 12 points or whatever. But between Clay, Steph, Wiggins, and throw Draymond in there as well, if he can get you 10 points a game, you'll be happy. Between those three plus Draymond, like, you get 65 points easy, and then you just got to figure out how you're going to get the other 40 from the other five guys or four guys that you're playing. Which on a night to night proposition is not like the most reliable thing in the world, but more often than not, I think they'll be able to get to 110 points, and like even despite the matchup problems that having an offense reliant on smaller guards presents for these bigger wings, I just don't have that much faith in Boston as an offensive vehicle.
Yeah. Because
Tatum, you read his numbers before, sounds amazing. His default mode is just ISO long two. And sometimes those shots go in. Like we saw DeMar DeRozan's mid-season spurt for 30 games where those shots were going in all the time, but often they don't. And over a 7-game series against good D, with packing the paint, with Looney and Draymond waiting if he decides to drive, like I think he's just going to settle.
Yeah.
More often than not, and I'm not confident that he's going to settle and shoot 50% on them. I think he's going to settle and shoot 40% on them. And like the other thing, like Jaylen Brown has a bit of that in his locker as well. He's not as good of a mid-range shooter as Tatum. But they both love to ISO. They both have real sloppy handles. So them ISOing, I just kind of feel like is not a problem unless they're going to score 50.
Yeah.
Because if they're not scoring 50, they're going to get an inefficient 25. And an inefficient 25, if I could put that on the table right now, you'd 100% take it.
Yeah.
Like every single game, like they'll both get 25, but they'll both shoot 40%. Done. You're taking it. Because the more they're encouraged to like multiple dribbles, 5-6 dribbles into traffic, or against a good matchup defender, like there's going to be turnovers, there's going to be opportunities to get out in transition. I'm just like not that worried. And then,
but also you also got to factor in like what these two dudes probably going to get the Luka defense, which is like brilliant with what Steve Kerr did, where it's just like one possession you're like fine, Looney switch hard. The next possession Looney don't. We'll have the guys getting screened fight over. Next possession we'll start with Klay Thompson just to see if maybe you think you can overpower him. Or next possession we'll start like fucking Kevon Looney was running down the court tagging Jalen Brunson in Game 5, and I was like, holy shit! Like 5D chess, not checkers. Like it's actually right there in front of us, and everyone laughs at me for saying it. But like Jason Tatum did this against a set defense that was very, very, very good. Right?
Yeah.
They've got very big defenders in Bam Adebayo and PJ Tucker, and obviously Jimmy Butler's a great defender, but like Jason Tatum for 7 games was just like, all right, where's the white shooter? Call a screen, didn't work. Call another screen. Okay,
where's the white shooter?
Yeah. Duncan Robinson and Max Strus.
Just in light of recent events.
Oh, okay. I mean, you could say that every day of the year.
Yeah, well, yeah, in that absolute mess of a country. Sorry to the 13% of American listeners that we have, but it's true.
So, like, yes, Jason Tatum was scoring well against good defense. He probably will score well against good defense as well. But I won't let you rebut on that. I'll actually butt in and say, what's oh, dude, your eyes just widened. Do you want to rebut? Okay, go on.
No, you don't want to let me. No, I was just gonna say, Miami in the second half of that series would blitz Tatum on picks, on any screens where he was the ball handler, and they'd also double early and double high up the court, which means, all right, how does he get to that 5.6 number? Not because he's taking people up off the dribble, getting into the paint, kicking it out. It's just because he's getting doubled and then moving it to the open shooter, which when you get the ball out of his hands, you can mitigate his scoring potential. But when the next pass is easy, when he can just make a 1-2 pass and you get an open shot out of it, it's like defeats the purpose essentially.
I mean,
maybe you'd rather ride with, you know, like giving so-and-so shooter a semi-open three rather than Tatum taking any shot. Sure. Golden State is not going to like mix it up and bring doubles and like force the ball out of his hands and then just concede an open corner three. That's not going to happen, because with the exception of Poole and then guys who aren't going to factor in as much, like Kuminga, Lee, everyone else is really fucking smart. Everyone else knows like schematically what they're doing and just has like the feel on the court of, okay, like if we're gonna double him here, like Draymond's like, okay, he's been doubled up there by Steph and Clay, or by, you know, Wiggins and Clay, whatever's happening. I'm defending Rob Will, who's like in the dunker spot, but I know that the next pass in the sequence is going to the corner. Like that corner shooter is not getting that shot off. And Draymond's saying, whoever's behind me, rotate over, he's going. Like the Golden State Warriors are so much more intelligent on a player by player basis than even the Heat were. Like even with Butler, Lowry, and Bam out there, like it's not really comparable. That's my thoughts. You can butt in again.
So that brings me to my next question, because Jason Tatum had a good passing series, right? So he averaged those 5.6 assists, but he also turned the ball over 4.7 times a game, and some of them were dribbling off the feet, which we're going to talk about soon. But some of them were he's getting trapped, and he's trying to do those overhead Steph Curry passes, and it doesn't always work, right? If you're Steve Kerr, would you sprinkle in a little bit of leave Marcus Smart open, see what happens? Would you sag off Marcus Smart, who against a good defense last series was shooting 36% from the floor and 29% from the 3-point line? Would you dare Marcus Smart to beat you early on?
Not schematically, I don't think, but if it's become apparent that Marcus Smart's having a bad game, I wouldn't be overloading. I wouldn't be trading him like a capital S shooter and saying you got to get out to that three if that's open. Saying you know, because he can be his own worst enemy sometimes. Where if he's shooting poorly from three, he'll either continue to jack them and miss, which is what we saw in Game 7 against Miami in the fourth quarter, or he'll overcompensate the other way and like get an open three and then just drive into traffic with a little bit of an erratic drive. Now he's got a tighter handle than the two J's, but he does love driving into a contested lane and being 6'4" and trying to like force up a vomit layup. So I would to answer your question, I wouldn't like bake it into the scheme, but I would say, if we're in the second quarter, if we're halfway through the second quarter and it's pretty obvious that he's over 5 but he's still being aggressive, then it's like, okay, don't help, see what happens. Because if he hits two threes and like, you know, the TD Garden's going crazy, just change it. Change it back and say, all right, like, you know, we tried, we thought maybe he'd miss him. But if he doesn't, like, he's not a player that lacks for confidence, and sometimes that manifests as having the wherewithal to stop shooting. He might just keep going, which we've seen. So, my overall approach to this would just kind of be like, you just want to stick a carrot in front of both big wings and just entice them to lean into their worst habits, knowing that even if they are successful at their worst habits, that's going to mitigate like their offensive potential. I want Tatum to be isoing and shooting long, deep twos. I want Jaylen Brown to be taking 4, 5, 6 dribbles and trying to get into the teeth of the D, and knowing that, like, you know, you mentioned the feet before, knowing that ball's going to hit foot at some point.
All right, let's talk about the other side of the ball, which is Golden State when they're trying to score, because you are going against the best defense in the world right now. And They've got two. They're usually going to be playing two big men at all time. That'll be one of the Williams and Al Horford. Obviously, you can mix those three around, and they've just got pretty much the triangle of big men right there. You've got Grant Williams, who wants to switch. He's really mobile. You've got Rob Williams, who probably doesn't want to be involved in the pick and roll at all. He'd rather just help over and just be an incredible help defender when his fucking meniscus works. And then Al Horford, who's traditional sag big, but he's also smart enough to know when to hedge out hard and recover, right?
And he's also like, he's big and he's 35 years old, but he's actually surprisingly lithe.
Yeah,
in a lot of those.
Nimble is some of the words people have used on him.
And in a lot of those defending away from the rim situations, he's not as much of a target as one might think.
So they've got those guys, but they also have Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and to an extent Marcus Smart, who probably are alongside Eric Bledsoe and Drew Holiday, are the best defenders at getting over a pick and defending from behind. Now, Steph Curry has faced doubles every time he calls for a screen. I don't know whether he will all the time this series. For the past 3 series, he did meet a double team. But when you've got someone like Derek White, who's just tenacious getting over screens, and even if the screen gets him, he in the most recent series, he had 2 come from behind blocks, and this is factoring in the fact that he had a baby in game 3 and didn't play every single game of the series. Baby Hendricks. No, that's Rob Williams' baby. So you've got these great recovery defenders coming into Steph. So Steph, who is having he's not his best 3-point shooting playoffs, right? As he has in the past, he's not just pulling up from the dotted line every single time, but he's playing exceptionally at scoring in the paint. Now he struggled against Jaren Jackson Jr. In Memphis, who also had lots of aggressive defenders that force turnovers and can really defend from behind, like Anthony Melton, Tyus Jones, etc. So what's the number say, Jamie?
I'm still getting there.
I wonder where Steph Curry's thing that he's been able to lean back on is just getting in the paint, drawing fouls, using his noggin, going in there, whether he makes some beautiful layup. If Robert Williams is healthy after this, just under a week's break before the finals, I'm a lot more worried about Steph Curry being able to get going, and then they won't actually have to double him. Then all of a sudden, the opportunities that we've been able to create for the past 3 series, because he gets doubled all the time, are negated, because then he's just shooting mid-range jumpers for the rest of the series, because Boston's going to welcome that, and you've just got good individual defenders on him there, or we have to try and find a way to create offense elsewhere. But then that's him on the ball. Him off the ball, I think he's going to be able to defeat any defender. But what do you think?
I just think that if you play a really aggressive style with him on the ball, and you are blitzing the pick and rolls, or you're bringing the early double when he tries to get a screen, you kind of allow the possibility that Golden State can flow into Steph on the ball to Steph off the ball. Because if you bring 2 people and Steph gets rid of the ball quickly and then relocates, he's literally the best relocator and shooter in the history of the game. There's no one better than giving up the ball and finding the exact soft spot where the D is not going to get you, and just jacking up a 3. So that's hard work, to be 35 feet from the rim, give the ball up, and then run around a couple of screens and take a 3. That'll take a lot of energy from him, and he's 34 years old. He's needs the energy to just hold up on D. It'll be tough, but I think that does present an opportunity where he can run around screens with his defender not only trailing but substantially trailing. And once he gets the ball back, if he's open, you just shoot the 3. He'll shoot 10 threes a game, and that's what you want. And you know what? If he gets the ball back and Boston plays good rotation D, then it's all of a sudden Steph in an on-ball situation against the defender who's not supposed to be defending him. Bam, a couple dribbles at the rim, kicking, I just think that...
And that's where it helps to have Poole out there, who's so good off the catch and off the dribble.
Yeah.
The only problem with Poole is that he'll absolutely cook the fuck out of his defender, but in his brain he goes, maybe I can get him a couple more times.
Yeah.
And you'll see these ones where he'll just absolutely kill Maxi Kleber, then he'll get him on the up fake, and he'll come back, and then the crowd's going nuts, and he goes, maybe one more time. Yeah. And by the time that's happened, Maxi Kleber's like, dude, you're just going to fucking do it again. And then all of a sudden he's lost his advantage. Yeah. But keep going. So once he creates it, it's for other players.
Yeah, I just think that in that situation, if they're prepared to work hard and lean into that, they can counter by getting Steph going around those screens. And once he gets the ball back, like I said, it's either jacking up a 3, which you love because it's an open 3, or he's attacking against a scrambled D with guys potentially not sure where they're supposed to be, with guys trailing, with guys in matchups that are disadvantageous. So I just have like, you know, maybe it's different. We probably come at it from a largely similar point of view, but because you're actually a Golden State fan, you have such a different connection with this guy than I do. You probably have this belief as well, but maybe a little bit more caution, dare I say. But I just believe in Steph in the finals. Like, I just think that he's gonna get this done. I think that no matter what the D throws at him, like, he's just gonna be able to put up monster numbers and do it well. Like,
you know, that's why I love basketball, because I just got goosebumps. Like, this is, and this leads into my next point so well, because we're talking about tactics and eye test a little bit here, but let's go a bit vibey here. Like, what do you think about this as a legacy Steph Curry series, for him to get that last trophy he needs to complete the fucking gauntlet of every trophy?
So what would this would be 4?
Well, this be 4 titles.
Yeah.
This be 4 titles, but his first Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Which has eluded him.
Yeah.
Like, and this is a series where he has been the best player on the court. He's obviously won the Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals award, but he has been the
first Warrior to win that.
First Warrior to win that, actually. Yeah. More than LeBron James, actually.
Yeah.
Can I say there's a really good article in 538 where they retroactively went back to every single series and
did it.
And did it. And they factored in, you know, if it went to 7 games, like, you know, the Jimmy Butler effect, would you give it to a guy who was that good enough on the other?
Yeah.
I think they gave it to the opposite team like 4 times throughout history. Anyway, Steph Curry, if he is going to make these shots, which you're talking about, which should be there.
Well, who had the most? You can't tell me that and then not give me the...
Well, A, spoilers, but B is like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Jerry West, that sort of shit. But...
Kobe Bryant, R.I.P.
Jerry West, stay healthy. So, yeah, legacy for Steph Curry. Like, he has got heaps of wide open shots in the playoffs. Like, he just knows where to get the ball and how to get the ball.
And to your point before, I did end up pulling up the numbers. He shot 32% against the Grizzlies, but he actually shot 40 and 43% in the other 2 series.
Yeah.
So he's
one of them is the Denver series.
One of them is the Denver series, but you know, like, he's not in as much of a slump from deep.
I mean, really, quite a dominant run. 5 games, 6 games, 5 games.
Oh, it's definitely dominant. Obviously, there's a bit of like the Phoenix Suns from last year effects going on, where you play like the Denver Skeleton Crew. That was always going to be an easy series, and
was it?
Yeah, 3 games without Ja as well. Like, that's pretty good.
Well, they're a much better defensive team without Ja.
They are, but I don't think you can make the case that they're a better team. Despite that game 4
Hey, I'm a Warriors fan. Let's not discount anything.
Despite that game 4 or 5 performance where they almost won, and then they were like, you know what we should do? Give the ball to Jaren Jackson Jr. 3 times in a row.
Fuck, let it go.
Hashtag Jenkins out. In terms of this as like a Steph Curry legacy series, I'll qualify my future statements and just say, like, he doesn't need anything to add to his legacy. Like, his legacy is like set. And I don't think the lack of Finals MVP accolades actually is that big of a deal. Like, obviously, you know, like your TNTs of the world will be like, whoa, well, you never did it in the finals.
I did say let's talk vibes.
The vibes are like, he's performed well in finals before. It's never been like he's been dead weight. It's just that one time Andre Iguodala won it when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So if the correct decision had been made, like, it would have gone to LeBron, not Steph anyway.
Yeah.
And the other 2 times he was playing with Kevin fucking Durant, who was playing against a team that had no one like-sized to defend him on any level. Like, it literally was a fucking practice run for him. And he rightfully, you know, averaged 35 and got the MVP. Like, it's no shame to be the second best player on a team when Kevin Durant is the best. And I mean, that's an interesting legacy conversation. Like, is Steph a better player than Kevin Durant? Like, when you stack up like the all-time greats. But in terms of this series specifically, like, if they're gonna win, they're gonna win because of the impact that Steph has.
Yeah.
If that means that Steph averages 35, sick. he'll get the award. But if Steph averages 23 and he doesn't shoot amazingly, but they still win, they'll be winning because Boston has single-handedly decided to stop him. He's the focal point of the game plan. So if everybody else is thriving because Steph is being targeted, then that's kind of the point. That's good. So him being above the treetops view, him being the best player on this team for the last 10 years, them going to the finals 6 times and potentially winning 4 chips, that's the legacy. You don't have to then go on a game by game and go, well, actually, push the glasses up and go, well, actually, if you look at the series on a minute level, no, you don't need to look at anything on a minute level because this guy has had such an excellent sustained run of being not only the best point guard in the NBA, but being the leader of the first real dynasty that we've seen in 20 years since the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. That's the legacy. This series, regardless, win or lose,
Mm.
Steph's probably a top 20 player all time. Right now. What do you think, being a little bit more, being a little bit emotionally closer to it? What do you think about this as a legacy game?
I agree with everything you said. It is quite annoying when you see TNT inside the NBA, all those guys where it's Stephen A. Smith, where it's but he hasn't got this one shiny piece of trophy, and it's he gave up things to try and bring in Kevin Durant and make things easier for him, and obviously everything that happened there. Look, I don't want to add too much to what you said. You said it well. Let's move on to predictions. Who's going to win the NBA championship this season?
You've written in my run sheet for me that I'm a big stinky butthead poo-poo.
That's weird.
And I would just like to push back against that as my official prediction. I think it's Golden State in 6.
Well, when we spoke about this 2 weeks ago when the conference final started, I said Golden State will lose to Boston in 6 games. But I've revised that prediction.
We here at the Deep 2 love a revised prediction.
We also love accountability.
We do love accountability.
So when I say Golden State in 5, I'm ready for that to be proven wrong.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, love this energy from you.
Golden State is undefeated at Chase Center in these playoffs.
Yeah.
They are 12-0 or 13-0. Golden State has home court advantage. Home court advantage this series. They are the more experienced team, and I'm putting a lot of stock in this 5-game win, in the fact that if Golden State wins the first 2 games at home, all of a sudden it's a 2-0 series. And yes, Phoenix Suns lost while being up 2-0, but
Phoenix Suns have lost while being up 2-0 multiple years in a row. But anyway,
it would be very, very hard to ask the young upstart Boston Celtics, who it's their first time being here, to come back against a team that has already been, embarrassed after a upset defeat, being up in an insurmountable lead, right? This team, if they can smell blood in the water, they're just going to do it, and they're just going to finish it. I think the biggest win this whole entire year, 2 years for this Golden State team was to go into Dallas last series in Game 3 and just cop all the blows from a game that no one thought they were going to win. Everyone had the stats where it's when Dallas loses by 10 plus or more, they're 58-7, right? Golden State went into Dallas assumed to lose. No one would have blamed them for losing. They didn't roll over. They went in and they won Game 3. It's this team just knows exactly how to win. Steph, Clay, Dre, they know how to win. They haven't lost a series while the 3 of them have been playing on the court together. Actually, there wasn't one because Draymond missed Game 6. I'm going Golden State in 5 games. And also, I think the West might be very, very, very much better than the East. You know how we're always talking about that? Where it's obviously the West is better than the East.
I think there are mitigating circumstances with the East's playoff performance in general, though, because I think, and this is something that's been strangely absent from the Sixers discourse, is Embiid missed half the series. He had a concussion. He couldn't look at his phone.
And he broke his finger.
And then he came back and is playing. It's if Embiid is healthy, which he hasn't been healthy ever in the playoffs, so take that with a tablespoon of salt. But if Embiid's healthy, then the Sixers are a much better team. Who the fuck knows what was going on with Lowry? Is he hurt? Is he old? What's going on there? Butler hurts his knee and misses a game here or there. Tyler Hero's out, so Miami probably don't look as good as they have looked. They're definitely, like, in general, I think that, like, the Bulls, the Bulls, like, tier in the Eastern Conference, like who finished, like Utah, Denver, like the 6-7 kind of vibe in
each
the
conference.
5-6 kind of vibe, like in the West, is better than the 5-6 in the East. But I think that there's mitigating circumstances with those top teams, because the other thing as well is, like, Dallas is not that good of a team.
See, I think they are. I think Dallas is really good, right? Luka Doncic is really good.
Yeah.
And Golden State did an excellent job against him. But then the Boston Celtics had to beat the Miami Heat with, like, a skeleton crew. You know, you said skeleton crew Dallas Mavericks, but, like, they're all healthy. Like, this,
they're all healthy. They're just literally like, it's like designed to be.
Like, Kyle Lowry is, like, washed or just not in good shape to play. Tyler Hero wasn't in good shape to play. We didn't mention the fact that he ran out there for, like, 2 or 5 minutes in Game 7. Was like, you know what? I actually am not healthy.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't a very hard Miami Heat team to beat. Like, it was just Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things. But really, like, he was making deep twos. He was making contested shots. This wasn't a hard team to beat. I think the West is so much better than the Eastern Conference. And I think we might see that in this series.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if it went to... Actually, you know, I'd be a little bit surprised if it went to 5. But I'm not, like... I don't even think for a second that Golden State's going to lose this. Because...
Really?
Because, like...
Because every podcast I listen to, everyone's picked Boston.
It's the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors, with all of the key pieces from their reign of terror, when they literally were one half, the more successful half of, like, the most advanced NBA duopoly since the Lakers Celtics of the 1950s. Like, no period of time in NBA history had you seen 4 consecutive finals matchups of the same two teams, and they were better than the Cavs by miles in most of those final series. They've got one of the greatest players of all time, 2-time MVP. They've got 3 of the best shooters in the league. They've got one of the greatest defensive players of all time. They've got one of the best coaches ever. And what's more, you said it before, they've all been there. Every single one of them has been there and done it. And the ones that are, like, the Otto Porters of the world, who haven't actually, like, won the chip and, like, gutted it out. Otto Porter's been in the NBA for 10 years.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins, less so Jordan Poole.
No, but like their ancillary pieces
stupid.
are older and more experienced and have, like, been around the block more so than, like, say, like a Derek White or a Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. Did Derek White win a title?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, Derek White would have been, like, 2016 draft, I reckon.
Yeah, you're right.
I just, like, I'm buying into the aura of the Warriors, and Boston's gonna win games. Like no team with 2 All NBA wings, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate at both center and guard, is gonna just, like, roll over. Yeah. It's not gonna be easy for Golden State to get what they want, but it's Golden State, and they're going up against a team that, yes, they've played with largely this assembled crew. They've played 4 of the last 6 Eastern Conference Finals. This is the NBA Finals, and in the last, you know, you talk about the East being better, definitely. So the West being better, definitely for the majority of the seasons of the last 6 years, the West has been substantially better. So the vanquished team in the WCF has been far superior to the vanquished team in the ECF. So that's then, this is now.
Yeah.
But they haven't played as quality an opponent in as high a leverage situation. Whereas Golden State has literally done this against LeBron James 4 times. They've done it against fucking Kawhi Leonard when Kawhi Leonard was playing as well as Michael Jordan ever played in an NBA Finals. Like, I don't think that's an overstatement. I agree. You know, they've done it against literally the most historic performances. And I don't think that, as good as the 2 wings are, offensively, defensively, as stingy as they are as a unit, I don't think that Boston has that level in them.
Final question: who are you rooting for?
I'm rooting for Golden State.
Me too.
Yeah, because among other things, I am magnanimous. And even though it has vexed me greatly during these playoff runs to see sometimes your self-conscious like homerism, and sometimes you're completely unaware, really like endearing like moments of like innocent homerism. Like it's like, oh, like Sean really loves the Golden State Warriors. It's been really wonderful, but it has been on the back of my own personal experiences with these playoffs, which shall not be elaborated upon. It has been a little bit vexing, and I have asked myself the question of like, why not me? Why him and not me? God, why? But I'm 100% on board with Golden State. I want good things for you. And
that too, and Boston. Like, Boston don't need more
well,
titles.
I'm certainly not rooting for Jason Tatum, who, as Marco said in the group chat the other day, is the single biggest clout chaser of all time. For people who haven't seen it, he like, obviously before Kobe died, Jason Tatum and Kobe had like a special, I'm doing air quotes, relationship, whatever that means. I'm not trying to say that it wasn't a special relationship. Jason Tatum posted all these celebratory photos after winning the Eastern Conference Finals, and the last one on the slide on the carousel on Instagram was a text that he had sent to Kobe's number, Kobe's phone number. Kobe Bryant famously died 3 years ago. Kobe Bryant's literally dead. And Jason Tatum not only texted the number saying like, I got this one for you.
It wasn't even the title.
I got this one for you tonight. That's like, okay, if you're going to do that, like it's your own personal relationship, screenshot it, put it on Instagram. Clout chaser. Me and Kobe had such a special relationship. Like, hey, I did this for you, Kay. Shut up. You, like, is it a Jason Tatum thing or is it like an American thing? Because I feel like
it might be a Kobe thing as well. But like, Devin Booker didn't do this when he won the Western Conference Finals. Devin Booker, who has a special relationship with Kobe Bryant
Devin Booker,
as well.
who also is not like known for like his humility and his like low keyness.
Going
like,
out with Jenna.
Devin Booker's going out with the Jenna. He arrives at every playoff game in like a $500,000 muscle car, and he just fucking talks trash to every single person on the basketball court. Flexes, does all of this stuff, is not even stooping to the levels of Kobe clout chasing that Jason Tatum is. So I'm certainly not rooting for Jason Tatum. But I do want good things for you. I do have tremendous respect for the most dominant team of my basketball life. And, you know, if they add another one to the trophy cabinet, I can tell my grandkids that, you know, I saw this team that is about to step over the precipice of being even more historically amazing than they already are. So that's my pick.
Well, how well said.
Before we...
Okay, you're going to do this too?
Yeah, I'll...
running out of breath.
Yeah, I'll do it. No, I just did speak a lot. You do it.
Okay. Before we... So, Lucas Petridis, friend of the program and co-host of the JVG NBA Tribute Show, wrote an article for thedeep2.com. Yes, it's that simple, thedeep2.com. Damn,
Is it really that simple?
I've actually... It's just come up. That's quite quick internet as well. He wrote an article talking about how the Dallas Mavericks title window is wide open with Luka Doncic right there, ready to go right now. And you should definitely check it out. It's thedeep2.com. It'll be the first article that you will see. And yeah, I recommend people check it out. It's not really a run-of-the-mill off-season prep article where it's like, oh, they need to address this, they need to address that. It is obviously, like everything Lucas writes, very well written, and he's got a few nice little funny bits in there as well. But he also comes up with a solution. Like, he comes up with a literal name of a player, a trade to make, and ways to improve the team.
How I would describe this is like it's like if you hooked him up to like a brain receptor software and put him in front of like the Dallas Mavericks open on 2K starting from the off season. And like every move that he does like on the 2K just gets like, you know, sent to like an AI computer that like writes it up essentially. Like he actually imagines himself almost as the GM. Like, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Like, here are the moves. And you mentioned it, like any Lucas piece always comes with a certain amount of panache that editing it, I just find wonderful. Such an enjoyable reading experience. So listeners, head over to, where can we find that article?
Thedeep2.com.
That's pretty simple. Head over to thedeep2.com and give Lucas's article on the Mavs a little look-see.
Final point. I think we should get ahead of this as a organisation and the two of us, Dante. But yes, I was known for having a public bout with Al Horford's sister, Anna Horford.
You mentioned that before, yeah. Yeah. You made it funny.
So yeah, she live tweets all through the games. Yeah. Something Celtics. Couldn't have happened to a greater guy. And then I was sitting there. I'm obviously going for the Miami Heat. Like a good friend of mine goes for Miami, and I want to see them win. Also, I don't really want to see Boston win. And she just struck me at the wrong timeout, where timeout maybe is a little bit of a Boston run. I'm like, oh come on, Miami! Put the ball in the basket. It was quite frustrating trying to watch them do that. Scrolling through Twitter, the best app on your whole entire phone is the Bluebird app. And she comes up and she goes...
For me, it's Tram Tracker. So that I can... Especially in this weather.
That's a good charm. But she goes... Al's just playing so hard out there. You can tell he wants to make the finals on his 37th birthday. This is Game 6, which he ended up losing. But she goes...
Scrub.
Just seeing him play so hard on his 36th birthday. And then I just went photo reply, scrolled through the recent memes I've got, and one of them was just this dude sitting there who's passed out with glasses on, and he goes, "Shut up, just shut the fuck up," right? Really good quality meme. Chuck my phone down because I'm watching the game, and I pick up my phone at the next time out, which is 10 minutes or something, and it's just I've got...
You're blowing up.
I'm blowing up as in 70 likes.
70?
Every single person that replied to me had a fucking 4-leaf clover in their username as well, and it might have had the Boston record as one game to clinch finals, and then it was just close up, just this fucking chubby dude with a spotty beard.
Yeah.
I think they're called Boston fans, is that right? So then they're all just what a shit meme, fuck this dude. And I'm like, why are they all caring? I photo reply to heaps of stuff, and usually it's just Lucas and Marco who like it, right? Turns out Anna Horford retweeted me, and do you want me to read it for you?
Yeah, and maybe would you describe the emoji that she used as well?
Yeah, a small pinch.
Yeah, the little pinch.
So Anna Horford, verified on Twitter, goes, Sean Carroll, semicolon, host of The Deep 2. Now, she spelt it with the numerical 2, but for the people out there listening, that's TWA for The Deep 2.
I think that on the Bluebird, that conveys that it is The Deep 2, and any interested parties be able to figure it out.
Yeah. So Sean Carroll, host of The Deep 2 NBA podcast, ... I'm so happy we we made the decision on day one to put NBA in there for SEO purposes.
If you type in The Deep 2 with the number 2 into Google, it still just comes up with us. Because we've got this cornered. Anyway, I interrupted you.
And then she goes, I think we could all guess why he's so angry with essentially
the little midget tiny finger emoji.
Let's call it the small penis emoji.
Yeah, it's a small penis emoji.
And then everyone's like, damn, Anna, you're ice cold. Damn, whoa, don't hold back on him, Anna. And I'm like, oh my God, it's more people with 4-leaf clovers in their fucking username. So then I replied to her saying, haha, you can listen to the Deep 2 NBA podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you get your daily podcasts, as well as checking out our website, The Deep 2, for in-depth feature articles. And then I had a little dog whistle to people who've been following the Zach Lowe-isms for the past 10 years. So it goes, I'm not actually that angry because I'm a Swamp Dragons fan, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as I do a tiny bit of Jason Tatum clout chasing, she blocks me, and then no one can see my little plug.
A missed opportunity, but a brush with fame nonetheless.
I like to say I used 2 minutes of my 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, well, you've still got that 13 minutes coming out. I then tried to comment, tag her on Instagram, and it wouldn't let me because Anna Horford doesn't allow everyone to tag her, which I thought maybe she'd blocked us because I tried to do it from the Deep 2 account. But then the gentleman in the group chat rallied and also tried it out, and apparently she just has she's offering such fire takes that she restricts the people that can comment on her, which is fair enough, because if I was making a living out of it, if I was making a living out of running my mouth on NBA
I think it's her brother who makes a living. Al Horford.
Yeah, right. Who's he play for? He plays for Florida Gators.
Yeah.
Anyway, pretty crazy, that whole interaction, it just makes me
so humbled to be sitting so close to someone so famous.
Yeah, well, just don't make sure that you're not like Icarus and you don't fly too close to the sun.
Hey, I'm still here. I'm still grounded.
Yeah.
Sitting on these IKEA chairs recording a pod on a fucking cold night. But I would just also like to see a Venn diagram of people who call other people's genitalia small and people who you can't reply to,
Yeah.
and wonder how far intersected that circle is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't even really actually know what that means, considering that she's a woman. Like, are you implying that she has small genitalia and she's like acting out against you this because of the size of your genitalia?
Well,
what does small genitalia in a woman even mean? Is that a bad thing? I don't know.
I've heard people come up with a creative put down for small female genitalia, but yeah, you're right.
Is it podcast appropriate? Because I'd be very interested in it. Maybe you can tell me off air.
It didn't really land, so
okay. Okay.
Well, that's a great place to end. So I'll speak to you next week. If you look for PointsBet's stock exchange listing, you'll find a bucket of jargon and doublespeak as they're considered a, quote, wagering services operator, unquote. That's a corporate stretch for the colloquial friendly brogan or, hey, look, it's Chris Bosh kind of image they're sending off with their targeted advertising. I don't know about you, but take me back to the days when former pro sports players signed brand deals with hair loss clinics or Fujitsu aircons, not, quote, wagering service providers.
If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across the two of our faces morphed into one, would that make you listen to our podcast more? I mean, if it does, let us know and we'll start doing it. But when I see a few NBA players' faces morphed into one, it doesn't make me want to pull out my wallet and donate some money to my local wagering services provider.
The worst part is we're coming to accept it. Wagering service provider ads are so ingrained in our sports and the way sports is delivered to us, it's almost impossible to avoid. 3/4 of Australian children aged between 8 and 16 years who watch sport think that betting on sport is normal and can name one or more sport betting companies. When I was in school, I was struggling to remember Pokemon names, and I'd be furious if I knew that brainpower was being used to put towards wagering service providers and not them.
The wagering service providers know exactly who to target. It's not okay to let them ingrain themselves in young Australians' minds. It's not okay to target people in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not okay for gambling companies to wield so much influence in the world of sports. To help kick gambling out of sport, use your voice and sign the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/petition.